Hello viewers, welcome to my first review of The Rings of Power, the extremely expensive series made by Amazon set in the Lord of the Rings legendarium from author J.R.R. Tolkien. The series has been in development for years and I am glad it has finally arrived. While Amazon purchased the rights to the stories such as The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings for a live-action adaptation, they did not purchase those of the Silmarillion or the unfinished tales of Numenor and Middle-earth. It is the latter two that describe in detail what happened during the Second Age of the Legendarium, the timeline in which this series takes place. Of course, fans of The Lord of the Rings know the novel comes with a huge appendix, also covering the backstory of characters such as the elves, Galadriel, Elrond and Gil-galad, to just name a few. The showrunners, J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, have developed an entirely new story set in Middle-earth during the Second Age around the creation of the Rings of Power. That of course includes the one ring made by Sauron, as well as the rings he made with the elf Celebrimbor, such as the 9 rings of men, the 7 for dwarves and the 3 for the elves. Some aspects of this are covered by the aforementioned appendices, but this is a unique adaptation intended to remain faithful to the source material. This series is huge. It has a budget of at least $300 million, a huge ensemble cast and a huge story. Not unlike the movies of Peter Jackson, the story starts off slowly. It is set thousands of years before the events of The Lord of the Rings. In the Second Age, 1,000 years has passed since the defeat of the previous Lord of Darkness, Morgoth. While evil is once again stirring, Sauron is not nearly as powerful as he would become in The Lord of the Rings. Not for many years anyway. This show focuses on the various human, dwarf and elven factions as they start to take notice of the rise of evil. As there is a lot of ground to cover, the series premieres with 2 hour-long episodes. The main meat of the story is around the elf Galadriel, played by Morfydd Clark, and her efforts to uncover if evil is stirring again. While in the service of King Galad, she travels to the far parts of Middle-earth to uncover the identity of the evil that left a mark on her deceased brother. However, despite incidents, little evidence of Sauron can be found. This eventually leads to an argument between her and her friend Elrond, played by Robert Aramayo. Gil-galad eventually rewards her for her service by allowing her to travel to Valinor. Neither Elrond nor Gil-galad think evil is banished from Middle-earth, but they also perceive Galadriel's obsession as a problem. As Galadriel's ship approaches Valinor, she has doubts and decides to jump overboard. She will spend most of the second episode swimming back to shore and learning from people that are shipwrecked that evil has indeed returned. One such person is Halbrand, played by Charlie Vickers, who, while keen to tell her his village was burned by orcs, seems not keen to share details. In the second episode, a lot of the story follows Elrond. On the orders of Gil-galad, he is tasked to help Celebrimbor, played by Charles Edwards, the master smith, with creating new magical artifacts. It is understood by all three that Elrond is there to keep an eye on what Celebrimbor is up to. The latter wants to build a great forge, but for that he needs help. He needs the help of the dwarves, so Elrond travels to Khazad-dûm. However, his friendship with Prince Durin is strained after not having visited for over 20 years. Here the difference in the lives of elves and dwarves shine through. The episode ends with Elrond just about having made amends for staying out of Durin's life. I will say this: Khazad-dûm is so far the highlight of this series when it comes to locations. While the elven cities are beautiful, they do not feel lived in like Durin's home. Besides these 2 intertwining stories, there are 2 more. The first centers around the lives of half-foots. Consider them proto-hobbits. They live more easterly of traditional places visited in Middle-earth and attempt to remain hidden from humans and elves alike. This story follows Nori, a half-foot who has a sense of adventure. Soon it arrives when a meteor strikes near her camp. From it stumbles a man who cannot speak any known language, but by the end of the episode has been shown to be able to command fireflies, not unlike how Gandalf summoned a butterfly. The final story arc follows the healer Bronwyn, played by Nazanin Boniadi, a human healer who has struck up a love interest with the elven soldier Arondir. He is tasked with guarding the Southlands with his fellow elves against the possibility of evil returning. Possibilities that include a servant of Morgoth. Local humans resent the elves, but angry outbursts indicate elven suspicions may be warranted. However, the love between Bronwyn and Arondir is resented locally, leading to partial ostracizing of her. Before long, suspicious things start to happen in the village. A nearby village is attacked by an unknown enemy, and an orc stumbles upon the home of Bronwyn. While I enjoyed the story arc of Bronwyn and Arondir, I think the story of Nori and the fellow half-foots is just too slow. I'm also not too keen on the silliness around the half-foots. It reminds me of aspects of the Lord of the Rings movies that I did not enjoy. One thing that immediately stands out with the Rings of Power is the production quality. For many years there has been a trend to give series a cinematic feel, especially since the rise of streaming services. This series succeeds handsomely in that respect, and let's face it, it was always going to be compared with the movie trilogy by Peter Jackson. While those movies were very colourful, a darker palette prevailed. The Rings of Power looks a lot like the movies, but sports bright colour outfits and scenery. The special effects and cinematography all allow the viewers to be transported to another world, that of Middle-earth. To top it off, the series has a perfect soundtrack created by Bear McCreary, who most would remember from Battlestar Galactica and series such as Outlander. Yes, the first 2 episodes are a bit slow, but that is to be expected. But it is definitely worth your time. However, some of the choices made may irk fans of the Legendarium. The Rings of Power is meant to span 5 seasons, each of 10 episodes. Roughly, the story spans the destruction of Numenor, the rise of Sauron, and culminating with the last alliance of elven men. In the source material, this spans hundreds if not thousands of years, basically the entire Second Age. Yet for this series it will be compressed into 5 seasons, while no time jumps are scheduled. I understand that choice and I respect it. I hope fans will as well, and not be distracted by the minor differences between this adaptation and the source material. So far the Rings of Power have focused on 4 story arcs, each with 3 or 4 central characters. Galadriel and Elrond remain the most important, but we have not yet seen Numenor, which will introduce Elendil, Isildur and Queen Miriel. At the end of episode 2, Galadriel and Halbrand are finally rescued from being shipwrecked, so perhaps we will see Numenor in the 3rd episode. This was it for my brief review of the first 2 episodes of the Rings of Power. Bar 1 or 2 reservations around the pacing, I thought the experience was great, well worth the wait. I am surprised at how much I believe I was actually transported to Middle-earth 20 years after the movies by Peter Jackson. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please hit the like button below, or if you want, subscribe to my channel.